Great, thanks, Susan. Thanks, Jeff. If you might advance to the next slide there, please. Fantastic. Great. So hello, everyone. My name is Christina McDonald. I'm another member of the CIOOS Atlantic team, and I'll be guiding the group through this interactive activity for the next 10 minutes or so. We're actually somewhat on time, a little bit over time, but I think we can catch up. So as Susan mentioned, after we conclude here, we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll send you to your smaller breakout sessions where you'll unpack the data spectrum with the help of a facilitator. So before I start, I wanted to thank you all again for your interest and willingness to engage with us here in this discussion. Thank you. So we've covered a lot of ground over the past hour. You've heard from Susan and Melody with the Ocean Supercluster about OSC's strategic plan to support data exchange within the membership, and about Vitality, the recently announced collaboration between OSC and CIOOS and a number of other partners to develop a data registry, a data trust, and data management training resources. You've also heard from the team at CIOOS about how we're using our open access platform to increase discovery, access, and reuse of coastal and marine data from different sectors. And now we'd like to hear from you. Hearing from you, the potential users of CIOOS, is critical so that we develop our system and the user interface in a way that works for you. Public data sharing initiatives like CIOOS don't always have the best track record of engaging with industry, but we want to change that and learn about what you need now and in the future. So back to hearing from you. More specifically, what are the factors that determine your organization or company's approach to data exchange? If you collect data, do you share it? Why or why not? How do you share it? Does your organization or company need data to deliver products and services? Do you have data exchange arrangements in place that facilitate this? And are there actions that CIOOS and OSC could undertake to support the kinds of data exchange that are of value to you? To answer these questions, we've created a data spectrum activity. We've called it a spectrum because data sharing isn't black and white. It's not all or nothing. Private, commercial, and government data exist in different parts of the spectrum and with different terms and access rights. So before we get started with the interactive part, I'd like to start by showing you an example of what this activity could look like. So Jeff, if you could advance the slide, fantastic. So voila, let me get you oriented to this slide. On the left-hand side of the data spectrum, it's open access, and the right-hand side is fully restricted. In blue are 3 examples of different types of data management systems. On the open access end of the spectrum is CIOOS, where the metadata and raw data are publicly available and there are no restrictions on data access except for open data licenses. In the middle, you have Vitality, which will ultimately produce a publicly accessible metadata catalog. Access to the raw data will continue to be negotiated via one-on-one discussions. And on the far right, there is a totally private data management system. You can see a bunch of sticky notes have been stuck along the spectrum. These sticky notes represent different organizations or companies. Some sticky notes just have an X on them, while others have details about why the sticky note was placed there on the spectrum. For example, your company may have a fee for accessing the data it collects, which places it more on the right-hand side of the spectrum. Maybe a company holds historic data that is no longer commercially sensitive and could be made publicly accessible, so it's over on the left-hand side of the spectrum. Or maybe your company really needs access to temperature data, and you like the idea of a metadata catalog, so you put an X beside Vitality. You can provide as much or as little detail as you would like, and feel free to use more than one sticky note. So I'd like to now take you to the live site. What I'm going to do is shortly I'm going to place a link to the live data spectrum in the chat box. And you can access the chat box. If you scroll your cursor down to the bottom of your screen, you should see chat in the middle there. That's the same place where Susan has asked you to place your questions. So I'm going to place that link in that box, and please click on that link. And that will open up the live spectrum activity. Let me just do that right now. So that link is being popped into the chat. So if you scroll down to the chat box at the bottom, there should be a link there to a Jamboard exercise. Please click on that link. I'm going to give everyone 10 seconds to do that now. Great. Okay, so before we dive in, a very quick orientation about how to use this tool. Please listen carefully. So if you've clicked on that link, you should now see a coastal and ocean data spectrum slide with a wavy blue line running horizontally across the middle. Jeff has helpfully placed that on the screen there. You'll see the 3 blue sticky notes, CIOOS, vitality, and a private system. Along the far left-hand side of the screen, you'll see 8 icons arranged vertically. The top one looks like a pen. And if you hover your cursor over that icon, it'll say pen. Move your cursor down 3 icons from the pen, and you'll find the sticky note option. This is the tool we'll be using for this activity. If you click once on the sticky note icon, a sticky note window will pop up on your screen. You can choose a color, yellow, green, blue, pink, or orange. Choose whatever color you would like. And you also have the option to type text. Type your text into the sticky note. Maybe it's an X, maybe it's your company name, maybe it's info about your particular data exchange consideration. Once you are done typing, click Save, and your sticky note will appear on the board. You'll need to click Cancel on the new sticky note that has now appeared. Find your filled out sticky note and move it to where you want it to be on the spectrum, either towards the left or towards the right, in the middle. Maybe you don't know where it fits, plunk it in the corner somewhere. You can edit, delete, or resize your sticky note by clicking on it and the 3 little dots in the upper right-hand corner of the square. A reminder to feel free to add more than 1 sticky note, and a note that this is all anonymous. Once you put a note on that board, there's no name or contact or ID information attached to it whatsoever. So I hope that's all clear. If anyone's having any problems, please type something into the chat box there, and I'll try my best to get you sorted. And I would now like to open the stage to you all for the next at least a couple minutes. Please sticky note away, and I'll provide some running commentary. And when things start to taper off, I'll give people another minute and we'll conclude. So please dive in. And you should all see the sticky note, the spectrum populating with the brave souls who are plunging in. And if you see somebody has put something on the spectrum that is kind of and echoes your own thoughts, do still add your note. It's helpful for us to see that more than one participant is having similar considerations. So don't let seeing it on the board stop you from adding it yourself. Okay, great. So we've got kind of a nice spread along the spectrum from open to closed. Talking about the need for data sharing agreements. Ocean Researcher has lots of data on hard drives. We like the sound of that. Excellent. Some people are even providing specifics, data about data types, which is all very helpful. We've got funder requirements to share data. That's, I think, increasingly becoming a consideration in funding arrangements as funding agencies appreciate the value of open data and the growing movement that we're seeing internationally and here in Canada. Standards for data, absolutely, that's critical. Definitely seems to be leaning more towards the center of the spectrum and the open access side, which is interesting. We've got a note popping up here about the importance of working with students. Grad student here saying that they need to understand how to operate data systems. Great. One of the things that CIOOS is working on in collaboration with our partners and OSC are some data management training programs. This is great. Thank you all for your notes here. Client data that will never be public, absolutely. That's on the far right-hand side of the spectrum in the fully restricted zone. Sensitive data such as Indigenous knowledge. Yeah, we've got some more notes about sensitive data such as species at risk. Obviously there's a lot of good reasons for why some data simply can't be shared and needs to be privately managed. Clarity about data value, what is too much and no longer useful versus what we need more of. Absolutely. I mean, CIOOS is absolutely considering that. We don't want to populate the system with a bunch of data that no one's using. And so a big part of what our engagement efforts are about is assessing what is the data out there that's valuable. What kind of data do our users actually need? Again, we're seeing standards. That's, again, really critical. Fantastic. Okay, great. Well, this is looking fantastic. We're starting to slow down here, so I'm going to give it another minute. And then what we'll do is we'll wrap this part of the session up. We'll let everyone take a 5-minute break to go grab a glass of water and stretch. If you're still jazzed about adding to the spectrum, feel free to stay on and continue adding. This is going to stay live, but we'll just give it another minute and then we'll take a break. And then after 5 minutes, we'll bring everyone back and send you all to your breakout rooms where we can really unpack this spectrum and get a better sense of the data sharing landscape. Who's sharing data? You know, why or why not? Are there existing agreements in place that are really working for you? How can CIOOS and OSC continue to support the data exchange that you need in your work to deliver products and services? Okay, we've got some AI mentions here. Interconnection of artificial intelligence with diverse data sets. Great, this is a wonderful looking board. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap up now. It's 2:47. Let's all take a 5-minute break. So please don't go too far. 5 minutes goes very quickly. So 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. At 2:53, if you could please return to your computer screen and we will, Nicola will work her magic and assign us all to breakout rooms. And that's when we'll spend the next another 20 minutes or so with smaller groups really getting into the weeds here. So thanks so much for your participation in this data spectrum exercise. And we'll see you back here in 5 minutes.
And when you get back, you don't need to do anything other than just like click on the button to accept the breakout group. So someone will put you in the place that you need to be. So no heavy lifting, but just accept the prompt there when that happens. Catch you in 5.